And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Are you on paleontology forums or something?
Shut up, Steve.
I knew it.
I did. I saw a Spanish Attack of the Werewolves movie. What was it? I can't remember the original title.
Of course you did, Mike.
Los Atacos del Chupacabros or something like that.
Good evening and welcome to Is It a Bicycle? Season 7, Episode 23, the original and bestest ever TV and movie podcast. My name is Stephen Wrigley and I'll be your host for this evening. Beside me is a man who says that some days it's just not worth chewing through his straps. It's Mike, the McDonough. Live from Vegas, we have a man who says that red is his least favourite colour of urine. It's Sean. It's Leonard. And in the red corner, it's our cuddly killer, a man who says his anger management classes really piss him off. It's Mark, superhero Leonard. This week we hope to discuss some movies in the shape of Dumb and Dumber 2 and The Hunger Games Mockingjay and 1. Is it? Mockingjay.
Mockingjay Part 1.
Part 1.
Mockingjay, the first part of the Mockingjay.
And some TV in the form of the Detectorists and Manhattan Love Story. Oh, we'll also talk about State of Affairs, which we all got to, it seems. And, of course, we'll have some news and some previews in Coming to a Bicycle near you.
Steve, can I ask, have you updated the intro so that now we're not just the bestest ever TV and movie podcast from Ireland? We're just the bestest ever TV and movie podcast. Is that what you've done?
That's exactly it, yeah.
Wow. We're now officially the bestest ever.
Yeah, you see, I thought it was worth dropping the bestest ever and longest running, because then I'd have to say just from Ireland. But if we say we're the bestest ever, we are the bestest ever. So, everywhere. So.
That's not bad. I wonder if Kevin Smith is listening and now feels like he needs to check his stock portfolio. Like, needs to check out his podcasts, see how the 5 of them are doing.
Yeah. This is due to outstanding bestestness.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And there's no other bestest challenger, actually, so.
Steve.
Sean.
Steve, I have something for you. I know that you've kind of fallen out of watching The Flash, right? Is that still true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I haven't gone back to it yet, yeah.
So there's a special event kicking off on December 2nd. It's going to be a 2-part crossover Flash and Arrow, right? Mm-hmm. And the first part is called Green Arrow versus the Flash, naturally enough.
All right.
And the second part is called The Brave and the Bold. And I just watched the 1-minute preview for it. And the Flash is shot with about 6 arrows in the first 30 seconds of it.
Really?
And I seriously, like at one point he just like shoots him with an arrow and goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Someone told me you heal fast." And he just rips it out of him. I'm very, very excited. And if the ratings work on this, we can expect to see it a lot more. And that's going to be interesting. I'd be excited to see like if there can be TV universes that people can just have like a load of shows all in the same universe.
Well, there are already, isn't there? Yeah.
You know, Sean, I wish you'd stop talking about this because every time you mention it, I keep knowing that I've got season 2 of Arrow on my Skybox and I haven't started watching it, and you keep mentioning it. And this is season 3.
You haven't seen season 2 of Arrow?
I went into detox. I said, I'm going to purge myself of Arrow. I know it's shit. I know I've watched the first series. I'm going to be strong and I'm not going to watch it anymore.
Watch just like maybe 4 episodes and just see. Just like give yourself a little taste. The first one's free. It's alright.
Yeah, speaking of universes, did I hear there's another Star Wars movie in the works or being thought about that sort of branches off from the main Skywalker?
From the main thread?
Yeah.
So
anyone it's like a heist story.
I'm not sure about that, but I think it's important for us to mention that anyone who's interested in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, if you're listening to this, the earliest you could do that will be on Friday. And on Friday, the first teaser for the new Star Wars film, Episode 7, will be out in select theaters. So just so everyone knows, you can probably find that on the internet.
Well, since we've started the news, let's go to the news. Mike, I believe you have an item, do you?
Just the one. Did you hear about the police having to be called to Smith's toy store regarding frozen Elsa dolls?
Are you serious?
Yep.
Serious?
Apparently, it's the thing for Christmas.
When you comb her hair and you dress her.
Yeah, we did review Frozen, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It's far bigger than we could ever have imagined.
Wow.
Yep. Public order unit called it.
Really? They were actually fighting over. What is it? Is there a huge lack of these dolls now?
Yeah, apparently they can't make enough of them.
Wow.
The police now were called to the Dublin branch, but in the Galway branch, there were 60 people queuing basically overnight. And when the delivery arrived in the morning, there were only 26 units.
Oh, wow.
So they had to issue tickets to the first 26 people in the line. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I would assume that's probably being replicated in shops right across the world.
Wow. Jesus. Would they not just let it go?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, God. Right. True Detective news.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel McAdams, Taylor Kitsch, and Kelly Riley are going to join Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn.
I think we like Kelly Riley, don't we?
Yeah, we do like Kelly Riley. Yeah. Wonder Woman has a director. Michelle McLaren, producer on Breaking Bad and X-Files. And also director, she directed actually on Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So a female director?
Yep.
That's cool.
Makes sense. Yeah. The Stand. Remember we were talking about Stand a few weeks ago. Yeah, well, it's actually going to be 4 movies.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I'm wondering, will there be a Stephen King universe built out of this, you know? There you go.
Oh.
And what else what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Quentin Tarantino. Remember we were talking about his movie that was leaked, the script was leaked, and then he just went, oh, fuck that, I'm not writing that, and he shelved it, and then he went to sue loads of people, and all that, right? And then we heard, oh, hang on, he's actually casting for it. Yeah. Well, now they're actually filming.
Okay.
And Samuel L.
So it's a go.
And Tim Roth and a few others, and it's I believe they're going to film it all in Colorado or something. So
I haven't seen Tim Roth for a while.
No, I haven't actually.
Is this the Hateful Eight?
The Hateful Eight, exactly it. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about it later, but Mockingjay, Part 1, has claimed the highest debut of 2014 with $55 million.
Oh, so the largest opening weekend box office.
Guess so. Yeah.
Huh?
Actually, just one little thing. I don't have the reference to hand, but it's been going around Facebook. Irish guy on some American food show, and there are two American hostesses.
Yeah.
And he's making them cocktails for Christmas with Irish ingredients.
All right. Cabbage and bacon. Yeah.
and then he teaches them an old Irish expression. Oh, well, Kathy come dog with you Maris le the hell.
You're kidding me.
That's class.
And he tells them that it means, I will love you even when you're old and grey.
Should we tell our listeners who don't speak Irish what it actually means? No? They can Google it.
Fucking legend.
No, that's, this week I saw, I started rewatching, Homeland. So I got on to season 4. I'd sort of watched episode 1 and 2, and then midway through episode 3, I was sort of like, it's gone a bit slow, and then I had other stuff that we're watching for the podcast, and then I went back to it during the week and watched the rest of episode 3, and then watched 4, and then watched 5, and then the following night I watched 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was really, really good. And I believe that Showtime have renewed the series for 12 episodes for next year. 5th season, yeah.
A lot of positive buzz around about Homeland at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I'm really hooked on it. I mean, the last episode 9 was fantastic. So did you see anything else this week, Mike?
I did. I saw a Spanish Attack of the Werewolves movie. What was it? I can't remember the original title.
Of course you did, Mike.
Los Atacos del Chupacabros or something like that.
That doesn't even sound like a werewolf movie.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Young lad with werewolf curse goes back to a village from where the curse originated. thinking he's going to get a prize for being the only novelist ever to come out of the village. And oh shit, does he get a surprise? Yeah, he's also the only werewolf to come out of the village. And the villagers want to end the curse. And it's all great fun.
Doesn't sound bad, actually.
El ataque de los hombres lobo. No. Yeah, so was it any good?
Yeah, it wasn't bad for what it is.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's probably the finest Spanish werewolf movie I've ever seen.
Mark, did you see anything this week?
Not a whole lot this week, Steve. I was up to a passenger gig in Dublin at the weekend, so that ate into a lot of my viewing time.
You didn't catch up with, I don't know, like Big Brother in the Jungle thing, or one of those Celebrity Get Me Out of Here?
I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here.
Were you watching that?
So I had this great idea after the concert that wouldn't it be fun if I got the megaphone from one of the security people at the local tram station. So I tried to convince them that if they gave me the megaphone, I would sing Happy Birthday to my friend. The lady didn't give me the megaphone, though.
Okay.
Oh.
You asked me about reality TV, so I just gave you some reality.
Fair enough.
Because I didn't see very much TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here is going.
Yeah.
I am dipping in and out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really as dedicated as I have been other years to that show. Watching a lot of X Factor, a lot of Strictly Come Dancing, the UK edition. Most of all of that against my will, but, you know, I like music and there's music in all of those things, so it could be worse.
Oh. Speaking of which, did you see in the papers about the significant risk factor for the I'm a Celebrity this year?
No.
Yeah, apparently there's a wanted murderer on the run in the locality.
No way.
Yeah, he killed one of his neighbors with a tennis racket, and the cops still haven't caught him. They have no idea where he is.
Struth.
And
is he in their camp? I'd watch that.
Well, he's hiding out somewhere. And there's also some woman was bludgeoned to death in a town about 10 minutes down the road, like yesterday or something.
What?
You mean down the road from where the show is filmed, or are you now just telling us horrible things?
No, just from where the show is filmed. So there's at least one and possibly two murderers in the vicinity of our celebrities.
Ant and Deck. They're your killers. The worst thing is the police won't even check them out.
Okay. So, let's kick off. Let's talk about first of our movies this week, which is, The Hunger Games.
We just watched The Hunger Games a couple hours ago. And when I arrived into the cinema screen, I did what I always do, is look for good seats 3/4 of the way back, as close to middle as possible, you know, for optimal sound. Unfortunately for me, there was a couple sitting in that row that I wanted, but right in front of them was empty, and sitting in front of a couple is usually safe. They just hold hands and watch the film. So, sat down, got set up, Diet Coke, popcorn and Easy Reach, ready to go. At that point, 4 of the couple's friends landed in with refreshments of their own.
Oh.
And turns out they weren't a couple. They were college students. Oh. And
it's a group hang.
Almost exactly like I would have done were I a college student still and in the cinema. The boys began to compete for the ladies' attention by making funny and funnier jokes about the Hunger Games. And it started off in the trailers. And then I realized, right, this is the mistake I've been making all my life. These people aren't a nuisance. These people are a barometer for how captivating a movie is. So the Hunger Games starts and it rolls for about 45 minutes and there wasn't a peep out of anybody. And then there was a couple of long speeches and all of a sudden the jokes started coming from behind. And it was almost any time the mother and the daughter were on screen, actually. But anyway, I must thank that bunch of college students for informing my review as to what everybody else was feeling while watching the movie.
Were they funny?
They were reasonably funny. They were funny enough that I didn't turn around and tell them to stop or die. So,
I must say I'm feeling a pang of jealousy here because anytime a student, I'd always get turned away.
Well, I'm sure that day is coming for me too, Mike, but I managed to sneak in.
It's in the post, man.
I have Michelle with me. I think that's probably most of it. So this is the third in the Hunger Games franchise. It is called Mockingjay. And it is, I guess, the first half of the final part of the inaccurately named trilogy.
Yes.
So at the start of this movie, Katniss Everdeen has escaped from the Hunger Games. She was broken out by members of the rebellion, I guess, to use Star Wars terminology. And she finds herself in a rebel compound, presumably on Hoth. And the film kind of goes from there, dealing with her being installed as the face of the rebellion and trying to incite the revolt across all the districts to take out the evil capital. So that's the Hunger Games.
So what do you think it is?
Would it have been too much to ask for a fish-head admiral to command the rebel forces?
That's a trap!
Tell me, before you get into it proper, is there enough of a hook at the end for the second part?
That's probably the only thing they did right.
Really? Yeah. Oh, really? Tell us more, Mike.
I was shocked and appalled, Steve. Yep. This is a testament to marketing guys getting editorial control of a show. In my own humble opinion, I think they probably had enough material to make maybe a 2 3/4, maybe 3 hour movie based on the novel.
All right.
And the marketing guy said, no. Yeah. We gotta make these guys pay twice. So you pad the shit out of this, make it a 4 hour movie, then we'll split it in 2, and they'll come out next year.
Yeah, well, judging by the figures after the weekend, they're doing the right thing. They're making money.
Yeah.
Just let Mike stew in his bitterness there for a while.
Yeah.
If I'd ever had an idea or something that I actually wanted to do,
so
I'd split the final part of it in half as well.
So we know what the story of this was, and I presume the same sort of quality, cinematography and so on.
Yeah, they spent a fucking shit ton of money on it.
Really, yeah. And Tommy, how do they deal with
because underground bunkers don't come cheap.
Yeah, I heard it was quite dark, actually. Yeah.
I had a problem with a couple of the shots in this film, actually, which is not something you very often hear me say.
Yeah.
There was a couple of really silly trailing and leading shots that I didn't think that they just were completely pointless. There's one when Katniss is heading off in a ship. It's the first time you see this ship, and they're trying to build up how cool. It seemed to me they were trying to build up how cool that ship was because we're going to be seeing a lot of it. And they have the guy from the 4400 whose name escapes me. He was introduced in this one.
Mahershala Ali, who recently changed his name to Mahershala Ali. He hoped it would be easier to pronounce.
John, I am in awe of your pronunciation ability. I'd say the ladies love you with that kind of agility. But anyway, so he was walking into camera, and the ship was revving up behind him, and the zoom out was keeping the ship in focus and him in focus as well. And I just didn't get it. And I said, this is the stupidest shot I've ever seen in my life. And then they do a very bad cut to the ship flying out of the hangar. And I'm like, oh my God, that looked ridiculous. And there's a couple of other things later in the film as well where I thought the cityscapes either looked a bit cartoony, and just not authentic. Like the foreground was fine, but as you went back into the sweeping desolation, which is the shots I'm talking about, and I'll let people watch the film and see what I'm talking about for themselves, I didn't think they looked great. Sorry, Mike, go on. You're back in.
I was just going to say, I'm glad you picked up on that point, because when that scene came up, they took off and then they landed, and I thought, it looks like the place they're going is just across the road.
My reaction to that scene was actually, we got 3 different ones for this shot that obviously gave us enough time to have a reaction and make a note of it. But what I did was I was going, interesting that we're focusing on this character who isn't really a character yet. And then the ship did its whole, it's going to hover and take off thing. And in my head, what I went was, what's the technology of this world like? Because all we ever fucking saw was incredibly, incredibly rich people or poor fuckers with bows and arrows. So I actually didn't know what the level of thing was. So when I saw that happen, I went, oh, okay, so, sure, like futuristic, whatever, sci-fi type thing. But for all intents and purposes, just a fucking plane. So and then I wondered, are they showing us that because there's going to be people fighting there later or something? Like, I have no idea. But I think we all did the same thing where we went, that this seems to be a tad long. You know why that might be, Mike, to get you back and ready again. They didn't need to cut out anything.
Yeah, Mike.
Excited for it. No, I like the Hunger Games franchise. I am a fan. And I said to my wife going in, I said, look, this is probably going to be all set up. You might as well just have that in your head as we go in. I actually predicted the plot before I went in its entirety, to Michelle. But it is padded. It is padded. It could have been tighter. As Mike said, they could have gone for a 3-hour finale and just nailed it, and it would have been a much better film. But obviously, people are in the making money business to do that.
Okay, Tommy, how do they deal with the Philip Seymour Hoffman character?
I'd say he was alive for all of this film.
Okay. Yeah, he's looking great.
Yeah. Okay. There was only one scene I noticed where he didn't look quite right. But that could have been just the lighting. I reckon either they did a perfect job at using CGI PSH,
yeah,
or he was just alive for the filming of this, because they filmed these together. They filmed them as one.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd say it'll be the later film will be the problem.
Okay.
But I don't think he particularly got a great part in this. I think he had a bigger role in the first two movies. In this one, he's kind of...
He wasn't in the first movie, Mike.
Was he not in the first one? Oh, right.
Wasn't in the first movie.
Second one, then he's in it.
He is indeed.
He's relatively important.
He was so commanding in the second. It seemed like he'd been there forever.
Yeah, that's it, Mark. Yeah, but in this one, he's kind of, he shows up, he does his Seymour Hoffman thing, and then he's discarded as the plot, such as it is, moves on.
Well, it wasn't his greatest performance for sure. Do we know how much of this he was in, or if he wasn't in any of it, or anyone know that?
Not for sure, no.
It didn't seem like he would have been used more. That's the impression that, you know what I mean? The impression I got was that everything we saw was what was definitely going to make it in. You know what I mean? Like, it looked like his character fulfilled every purpose his character needed to.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not getting a vibe that everyone enjoyed this.
I'd love to talk about that, briefly.
Please.
So, the problem with the second Hunger Games movie is that it's the first Hunger Games movie again, with a better ending.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the second movie. It's almost like they could have just skipped that fucking thing and just gone straight into Mockingjay. So what's interesting is that Mockingjay is a different kind of movie, which is both its strength and its weakness, in my opinion. There really is nowhere near as much action in this as, the two deathmatch movies. So it really puts all of the focus on the propaganda battle. Like, it is a battle for hearts and minds, and that's all it is. And in that context, I thought they did a great job of making those events seem like action. I thought that it substituted well in that way. I think that the majority of the padding comes right in the middle when they try and create more out of something that just happens. Like, they try and they break one of my rules for trying to get us to care about people who are doing stupid shit that they should be punished for doing. And I went, this is bullshit. I hate this. And that was like 20 minutes. That was a 20-minute thing that happened that didn't need to ever happen for anyone. I wouldn't even read that in the book. And it just made no sense. So there was a whole middle part where I was going, this seems silly. Like, what's the next thing that will matter that's going to happen? And then I waited, and then it did. So I think that there is a good hour and, 20-minute movie in this. Genuinely, I think this could have easily been an hour and 20 minutes and been perfectly well done as a film all by itself. No problems with that. But if they were going to make it as long as this one is, which is, the same length as the first two, the full 2 hours, they would have needed to either add action or add sequences.
Yeah.
Some things I did enjoy about this, when they got mean, they got very, very mean. There's a monologue from a character that we only see very sparingly, Finnick O'Dare, where he reveals, what happened to him between when he won the Hunger Games however many years ago up to this point. That was fucking shocking. Like the whole thing, the idea that like the kids in that movie, I think that they pitched it in such a way that it would go over their heads. But for anyone who had their despicable minds about them, like, it was very clear what was going on with his character. And I thought that was very, very impressive without being pandering. And they wrapped that character development up in an incredibly tense scene that could have come out of a futuristic Zero Dark 30, which I thought was cool.
It was an interesting backdrop, actually. That was the one thing that I did appreciate in the cinematography side of things. It's difficult to talk about it without doing any spoilers, but they had an action scene juxtaposed with a long monologue, and it actually kind of worked. Because you were getting the motivation for a lot of what was going on at the same time that it was going on. And by necessity, the action needed to be quiet. So having that as a backdrop was really good. I thought that was clever as well, Sean.
And let's talk about the villain for a bit, because in the first two, he just seems like a threatening, menacing old person, which, let's be honest, we've seen that before. Like, we know about that. But in that same sequence, and during his own actions, Coriolanus Snow, Mr. President, he became very, very vicious to me. Like, the idea not only that he endorses completely all of the bad things that happen, especially the things revealed in that monologue we're talking about, but also like his path to power and what it cost him himself. All of that stuff. Like, I thought he was treated very well and was made to be a truly reprehensible villain in this movie, which you need when you're coming to the final battle.
I did like his wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like serious tailoring that boy has. If you're going to be at the top of a corrupt society, you might as well get a decent suit out of it.
And speaking of wardrobe, Effie Trinket played incredibly elegantly and eloquently, despite the rebel couture by Elizabeth Banks. She was amazing. Every single person in the movie theater that I was in when she first came on screen pissed their whole laughing and then just did whenever she did anything. They're just like, this is great. She is funny. This is what I wanted. What do you think?
She was a show stealer in the last Hunger Games as well. Whenever she was on screen, I thought she dominated. It's really, really an interesting part. Like, she kind of, while being very involved in what's going on, she characterizes a somewhat innocent bystander very well. Like, she doesn't really care about, rebels or capital. That's a bit immaterial. She just wants to look pretty and help other people do that too. And it's very endearing, and she's so funny. It's an excellently written and acted character.
So yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot to be said for the movie, but also it has its flaws.
Oh boy, does it have flaws. There is a sequence, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a theme of needing a symbol for a revolution, which I don't think is too much to say.
No, it's in the trailer, Mike. That's all good.
Okay. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I know, Mark, you don't watch the news, so this will go over your head, but I was thinking of the ISIS guys in Iraq, and I was thinking, oh yeah, we're really pissed off with the government, and we've got all these fucking weapons lying around. If only we had a symbol to motivate us to go and attack the government. Yeah. It just didn't strike me as real at all. And there is again on the symbol thing, there is a discussion about realism in terms of passing your message to the consumer of said messages and the veracity of it. And there is a contrast between a faux message and a real message with when shit gets real. And I just saw that scene, and in Dublin parlance, I was scarlet for it didn't work. It just seemed so horribly wrong. And it destroyed any hope I had for the movie. I just couldn't take it seriously after that.
You've kind of given away what you thought about it there, Mike.
Oh no.
Well, I do know what you're talking about, Mike, but I don't know. I kind of thought you would have gone back through your vast historical knowledge and realized that every single rebellion or revolution pretty much has, you know, a number of figures that you point to and go, they were necessary for this to happen in that way. We needed something like this. So I bought that completely. The actual delivery of a certain speech that she makes, I thought was fine. I thought there was nothing wrong with it. Certainly didn't make me go, nah, this movie's over for me. I'm out. I'm not going to pay attention. No, you can't make me. I didn't really get that. It didn't happen for me. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's just you.
Maybe it's just me. Yeah. I just need a little more in my revolutionary heroes.
Fair enough.
It struck me as a little bit like, what was that terrible, awful movie with Anne Hathaway? With the great
Les Miserables.
Yeah, with the great bit where the kid gets shot on the barricade. Yeah.
That was really your highlight.
Spoiler.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm on a roll now. The musical aspect. Holy Jesus fuck. Where did that come out of?
The singing.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I quite liked it as well, Mike.
If I hadn't been so lazy, I would have walked out at that point, because there is a song which is followed by people marching in a big group, and
Are they following Yellow Brick Road?
To me, all I saw was fucking West Side Story. You know, they might as well have been clicking their fucking fingers.
And what if they had?
Like the intro to Fame.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, it was pathetic. It was fucking pathetic.
No, Mike, you had your cynicism blanket too tight. That was your problem.
Dialed up to 11 again, were we, Mike?
I didn't hate the musical sequence, Mike, okay? Whenever anybody... I want to put this and I don't want to spoil anything, right? It can be awkward, right? When you're singing a song, when you're out there and you're exposed and you don't know if the audience is going to like you. And, all you've got to try and convince them is your voice, and you never know if it's going to be enough, right? You put on top of that the fact that you're being used as a symbol for a rebellion against a vastly overpowered foe, and singing is much more difficult. And I thought they communicated that slight awkwardness with the start of a song very well. So in that scene, I went, yeah, that is exactly what it's like when someone goes sing a song and you do. It feels like that. And then they immediately represented the fact that she was singing a song in a much better way, because to her, she just sang a song because someone asked her to, but all of a sudden she was striking a spark, which is an image that's used a lot in the film, with the rest of the folks involved in the rebellion.
Again, I thought it was just another attempt to tick all the boxes of what you have in a rebellion or a revolution. You have a leader, you have a speech, you have a song. Like, they were packaging it, they were marketing a whole thing. So they did their market research, and then they just filled in those boxes, which I thought was good. The question is, did the Hunger Games do the same thing by just going romantic love interests, have some fights, make her likable, put someone famous there, and then just tell a movie, or half of one. That'll do.
It seems it has. 55 million.
So.
55 million. Jesus.
So, we're going to mark this.
I think we better.
Yeah, Mark, go for it.
I don't know if you picked up on it, but I didn't think this was a great movie.
Yeah, kind of gathered that already.
I'm a big Hunger Games fan. I enjoyed it fine, but there is nothing striking here, and I thought they could have done a lot more to make this a better film. Chief among those is shortening it, but obviously we don't have that option. As Sean mentioned, making more use of Seymour Hoffman wouldn't have hurt anybody. So for me, it's just marginally above average. I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay. Sean?
I thought that the ending was very striking, a particular incident. And because of that, I'm definitely watching the next one. But I agree with Mark, a slightly above average in most places and below in others. 6 out of 10.
Right. Mike?
This is probably the worst movie I've seen this year.
Oh, come on. You say that about every movie.
There may have been other worse ones, but it's that bad. I'm thinking B-movie territory, and I liked Sharknado an awful lot more than I like this.
Yeah, well, come on.
So I'm going to give this a 2. This is appalling.
Oh, wow.
Nobody should see it. In fact, even those listeners who may be thinking about illegally downloading it, it's not even worth downloading. Don't waste your time.
Mike, do you think it's just that it's not aimed at your demographic? You know, 65 and plus, you know.
I watched the first two. They were harmless enough. This is just appalling.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next up we have first of our TV, which is the Detectorists. This is by BBC. It's comedy by BBC. It stars Toby Jones, who we know from Captain America and Harry Potter and Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor, guy. Also Mackenzie Crook was in it, who we know from The Office and Game of Thrones. So this is a story of two eccentric metal detectorists who walk up and down fields looking to find treasure troves, and it's pretty much it, actually, in a nutshell. Yeah, what do you think of this, Mike?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I liked all the characters in it.
Yeah.
The story, such as it was okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit depressing for
Yeah.
a comedy.
It is, yeah.
Because it's kind of painting a picture of peoples whose lives probably aren't going to plan and who are kind of struggling to get on with things as best they can.
You mean like real people?
Yeah. And real life is often a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, it was kind of mundane enough, all right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the seems to be the pure focus of their lives at the moment.
So you're leaving out some of the jokes, I think.
Yeah.
So it opens with them doing their business, walking up and down, and at the end, like right before they hit you with one of many lovely songs that played in this, yeah, they go, "Those guys, sad tits," as in like how completely self-aware the show is about how sad these guys are. And there are moments in it that were like, that's very sad and so humanly possible. But I also thought that they gave you enough of the good things in these guys' lives that I had no problem still watching. Like, there's a big surprise in this show, which they don't do with oomph. But the big surprise is that Mackenzie Crook's character has a long-term girlfriend and a completely fully functional life. Like, in my head, I was waiting to see how they'd both be like shit. And we see in like one guy, he's divorced. And I was like, well, that's what I expected. Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Then Mackenzie Crook, no, he's really not doing too badly for himself at all.
Yeah.
He's just got a hobby that he wants to be the thing that makes his life mean something. Because he's not happy with an ordinary life. Like so many characters we watch don't have. All the characters we watch have the extraordinary lives that TV screenwriters give to them. These guys have regular person lives. And they're kind of, they're either chasing parts of it that could be made extraordinary, like Toby Jones's character wanting to be with his wife, even though it's never going to happen, or they're chasing the things that will make those lives special, which makes me empathize. Their ability to give exposition while developing character, while being funny, while trying to impress a girl, that was a great opening scene. Like, the second you get past the teaser, there's a girl and they behave the exact way that you think saddos do. Like, it was brilliant. I was like, this is class. This is really well done. This is class. And then we see more of their lives, and I was genuinely interested in finding out more about them. Also, does Mackenzie Crook have a kid, or does his girlfriend have a kid? Did she pick someone up from school? I don't know. And they weren't going, ooh, what's the mystery? They were just going, yeah, that's her life as well. She's going. And she is a perfect character for talking about how shit all of their hobbies are. That was amazing. She's like, do you want to go? He's giving a talk about buttons. Fuck off. That was perfectly delivered. Like, this is a good comedy that also makes you sad sometimes. And again, I just think that adds up to a more holistic and realistic picture of a life, which in the end makes me sympathize, and more than that, makes me empathize. Because for these guys, pity is easy, sympathy is possible, and empathy is gold. And I think they got that.
Well, like I said, they were interesting characters, and you wanted to find out more about them. And that's, I think, why I went and watched the second episode. It was different. There's no big hook in it.
No.
It's like, will they find a treasure trove or won't they? The only thing that made me really laugh out loud for it being a comedy was the crazy farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they meet this crazy farmer and they're looking for permission to do detectoring on his land, and he has these invisible dogs. They're all in his head, but he's like, "Chip, come out, Chip, come on, look, get up off that couch," and this kind of thing, which is very, very, very funny. He's brilliant, actually, and of course, I think there is no more coming from it in the second episode. So I felt, okay, I've seen what I'm going to learn about these guys.
So maybe it's a pacing thing then. Well, what about there's the character that we were introduced to third, who seems to be a plot point as well as a character in and of herself, is an archaeology student named Sophie, who may cause trouble in one or both of these fellas' lives. How does that plot line develop?
Well, you're sort of led to suspect that she works for the opposition. You know, there's another Detectorists group in the next village over, kind of thing, or in the same village, and they're competing for where they can detect and so on, and who's going to find this treasure trove first and so on. There's sort of hint that she's working for the opposition and trying to find, she's a mole. And actually the opposition guys are very funny.
I knew those guys would be funny.
Yeah, because they're as much nerds as our own guys are, let's say. Like they're spying on them in fields and that kind of thing, and they're very obviously, you can see them like miles away, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
What did you think of the other metal detectorists in the club? I thought that scene was incredibly well done.
Yeah. And
the social awkwardness was priceless.
Yeah.
And when everyone except one of the lesbians is completely entranced by a young girl, including the lesbian's partner, who's like, whoa. I thought that was class. That was just so simple and easy. And I don't know, I just kind of believed that, even though these are kind of wacky, zany characters, I do believe there are people doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people have these hobbies,
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Down at the local village hall kind of thing, yeah, absolutely. So what do you think of this?
For me, it's definitely a thriller. I thought it was unique without being bombastic.
Yeah. Mike?
I'm kind of on the fence with this one, because I did like it. I thought it was well done, but it didn't have an awful lot of hook.
Yeah.
But I'm in a good mood now after Katniss, so I'm going to give this one a thriller.
Yeah, well, if we're basing it on this episode, obviously I'll give it a thriller because I watched the second one. But I just have to say I won't be watching much more of it, I'd say. That's Detectorists. Next up with the second of our movies, which is Dumb and Dumber 2. I think we all know where this is going and what it is. It's Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey. Yeah. Jim Carrey, and they're back 20 years after the last one, so it's quite a solid sequel, actually. It's the same stuff. It's jokes every 5 seconds. There's a lot of jokes in this, and there's a lot of vulgarity in this.
Steve, I have a question.
Yes.
How jarring was it seeing Jeff Daniels?
Yes.
After seeing him in the newsroom,
I was
playing the part of an idiot.
Yeah, it's incredible to see him going from such a serious role to such a fool of a role. But it's kind of compelling, because we're used to him now in the newsroom and being Mr. Serious and Mr. Clever or Mr. Smart or whatever, and he's going to the polar opposite. I think you'd like this movie.
Well, I did love the original.
Steve, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
My question is, did you find, like certain reviews that I've read of this film, that they traded unique and original comedy for repetition of previous jokes and vulgarity that is not necessarily funny, but is simply vulgar and potentially mean?
Yeah, I've seen reviews, all right, that are really slating it, and I can see their point. But at the same time, if you're going to focus on those 2, maybe 3 pieces, I mean, you're doing the movie an injustice, because there are so many jokes in it, and they do callbacks to the previous movies, which you do with a sequel. You're bound to. I don't see that as a negative. There's only a couple. Like, there's one where he's at a door, and he's, if you might remember from the first one, he had, do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Well, in this one he goes, do you want to hear the second most annoying sound in the world? And then he does, and so it's that kind of callback. So actually, if you love the first ones, I think you'd like this. But if you go into this looking for like the quality cinematography and so on, it's not what you're looking for in this. You know it's going to be a certain quality, and that doesn't come into a review really, in my opinion. Does it stand up to the others? Yeah, it does. But you have to go in at the right mindset.
Do you think that they're lining it up for yet more? Or was this just a one-off reunion kind of thing?
God, I hope they don't do more of this.
Well, like the others. I think they're all standalone movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the most part. Like I said, there are callbacks, but there's no hint really that there'll be another, but there's loads of room for more. There are some very, very, very funny moments. Mm-hmm. The story basically is that Lloyd discovers that he's got a kidney problem and he needs to get a replacement kidney from someone. And over the next couple of days, discovers that he has a long-lost daughter from an affair he had with Fanny Felcher.
So was this Jeff Daniels' character you're talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Was he Harry or Lloyd?
Oh, sorry, Harry Dunn. Yeah, sorry, you're right, Lloyd.
I thought he was Harry.
Was that not a plot line in Lost?
Sorry, so anyway, they go on a trip to try and find her, and then they meet her the parents that adopted her, and there's a whole background story there, which leads them to go and try and find the daughter who's gone to a TED-like talk, which is called Ken, before she makes a certain speech and so on. So it's a race across the country kind of thing again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's funny. What would I give it out of 10? It's kind of one of those that you really do have to be in the mood for. If I wasn't in the mood for it, I don't think I'd have laughed half as much. But I did laugh a lot. So, because it was so stupid and vulgarity bits. When I went a bit OTT, I was sort of like, oh, okay, could have cut that bit a bit. So I'm going to give it a 6.
When you say in the mood, Steve,
yeah,
do you mean stoned by any chance?
No, I don't. No,
Okay.
I mean literally, like if you, it depends on what kind of head you're going on. If you're going to be in and looking for fault, you're going to find a lot of fault. If you're leaving the brain at the door and just want to giggle.
So if you've just gotten away with not paying for your petrol or something.
That has never happened to me. That happened to you often. So
you got to change the license plates.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's 6 out of 10 for me. So next up we have second of our TV, which is Manhattan Love Story. Mike, we've got an interesting story behind this one. Before we review it, don't we?
We do?
Yeah, I put this on the list, and I stand by my choice.
Did you know it had been cancelled?
No, I did not know until the very last moment. But it's not truly cancelled. I have had on good authority it's available on Hulu. If you want to go on...
They're not making any more episodes, Mike. That sounds like cancelled to me.
Shut up! There's at least 2-3 episodes in the bag there.
Cancelled. I mean, is any TV show cancelled if it lives on in our hearts?
Yes!
Or Hulu?
So, Manhattan Love Story is... two good-looking young people.
Did you write this shit down?
Yeah. Annalie Tipton and Jake McDorman, who meet in New York, and they both have issues, quite strong issues.
Are you trying to put pressure on us so that we write out synopses as well? I feel like I didn't prepare enough now.
It's not my place to tell you how you get ready for this podcast, Mark.
Oh, he's making it even worse now. Sean, do you feel a bit bad you didn't write anything down?
No, I'm off the cuff every fucking time. Perfect.
So anyway, Annalie Tipton moves to New York, country girl, following her dream in the big smoke, and she meets the worst possible guy that she could meet.
There's a man about town.
A man about town, a playa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, I was basically bought into this with the opening scene. It was just so
I knew you'd like that. I fucking knew that you would like that. How about we describe the scene, right? You describe your version of the scene, and I'll describe my version of the scene. Go for it.
So, it was a day like any other. I walked out of the house. down the main street, there was a pretty girl. She caught my attention until another pretty girl caught my attention. And so on, rinse and repeat for pretty well the whole day.
And the way it went for me was a dickhead walks down the street looking at women's cleavage as often as possible, objectifying them a lot, and then deciding who does not pass his test. For example, women with any flaws in their faces or in their bodies, any pregnant women, oh no wait, they're okay because their breasts get bigger. I would hate for a woman to have a baby inside of her unless she had massive breasts. That would be terrible. This show...
Yeah, he really nailed that one.
This show introduces two characters to us, and here's the thing that I can't tell between it. Are they trying to be true to life and showing us the shittiness of people, which at times is hilarious when they do it? Or are they trying to go lowest common denominator and go, I think people will laugh at it if we make jokes about getting women drunk so that they will kiss each other / us? As if that's a good thing? Is that a good thing to do? Should we tell people it's good to get people drunk so they will do what we want them to do? Is that really a good idea?
Who do you think you are, Cosby? Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Because at times I think this is really fucking funny. It shows what people do in their heads as they're sizing someone up about whether or not they're going to sleep with them, what they do in their heads, and that when a date is happening. However, sometimes they were very morally problematic, and sometimes they were downright mean. So, I don't know if any of that has anything to do with why the show's cancelled. It probably got cancelled because it's a show trying to be about love, and no one wants to hear about that shit on TV anymore, apparently.
Yeah, you're right. They're exposing the unfiltered thoughts of people seeking romance, I guess. So, yeah, so it's a bit like what women want, where they objectified men, whereas this we get both sides of the story. And you're right, it was objectifying. But again, in return, it was the same on the other side too, and from the female's perspective. Now, granted, she was objectifying objects.
but what women want was from 20 years ago?
Yeah, it's completely different. Yeah.
I'm just saying there may be developments that have occurred that could be taken into account. I'm not saying I'm against the show. I think it's perfectly fine to like things while admitting they're problematic.
Or maybe human nature hasn't changed that much.
No, it hasn't changed at all since what women want. There was a couple of things that he said which... Well, let me talk about my problems, right? So, Sean, you're saying that he's characterizing a side of, or he's celebrating a side of the male psyche that shouldn't be celebrated, and the same for women. And I would say you're probably right, but if it's funny, that's okay. And that was my problem. I didn't think it was all that funny. So the main problem I had with this was it was quite easy to get what was going on in a guy's head right, because we're so simple and it's a bit obvious. But when they tried to be subtle inside the girl's head, it didn't feel as on the money. Maybe that's because I don't know what women want, right? I don't know. But it didn't seem to be on the money to me, and it definitely wasn't funny any time she was talking, either internally or any other way.
Yeah, she did come across quite ditzy at times, which got annoying around the middle of the episode. But I think it sort of came good again later on in the episode. And there were a couple of instances where there were laughs from the other side of the couch while we watched this. So, yeah, I think the majority of those on the male side, all right. Yeah, it was written from a male perspective, obviously.
I thought that Annalay Tipton did a very good job performing the part that was written for her. And what I thought was interesting was the last time we saw her was in Two Night Stand, another story about romantic male-female relationships in New York City, and about how there's some nitty-gritty stuff involved in this.
And just to briefly objectify her, she looked gorgeous in this too.
I didn't notice, Steve. I was so captivated by the plot.
I've noticed that a lot of pretty people end up on television. I think there's a connection there. I'm not sure.
How does that happen?
I think it's Thriller.
I also think it's Thriller. Not that will matter, because I physically can't watch more of it.
I can't believe it was cancelled. Like I thought it was one of the better shows this year, actually.
I genuinely think nobody wants to buy and keep shows about love anymore. I think people just want long-form, dramatic, win us awards shows.
I think you've got it. Because you've been nailed this year with all your love shows. You've got your A to Z, you've got your selfie, you've got your Manhattan love story. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I should get a job in the TV industry, and they just show me programs, and I say I like it, and then they cancel them. So I save them all the money from actually making the show. I've got a gift for it.
Thriller filler.
Oh, it's Thriller. I love the show.
Mark?
I don't think it's terrible. I'm not going to watch any more were that a possibility. So it would be filler for me.
Okay. Wow, three thrillers in a filler. I think they're missing their target there. Their target demographic maybe a little. Yeah. They should be heading towards the more youthful side, I
think. Yes, younger people, even prettier.
Okay. Next up, let's talk about State of Affairs. Who wants to tell us about that? I think Mark does.
Oh, sure, Steve. So Katherine Heigl is back on our screens. She's not playing Izzy from Grey's Anatomy anymore. She's actually playing a character we saw in Homeland. So she is the person in charge of putting together the daily briefing for POTUS. But she has had an extremely traumatic event which happened in her past that saw someone close to her killed, and she's struggling to deal with that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want me to dive into my review, Steve.
Go for it, Mark. Please do.
I very rarely on this podcast complain about realism, because typically it's the last thing that I look for in a show.
Yeah.
Right. But let me give you an example of a show that is quite unrealistic in many ways that I really enjoy. And that's a show called 24. And it's the same kind of rough domain as this show is, right? We're talking about affairs of state where, people can be hurt and killed by terrorist acts if we don't do the right thing, so on and so forth, right? There's a scene in this show where Katherine Heigl, despite, let's say, being restricted, walks into the Oval Office. Walks into it, right? Like, security doesn't see her, quote unquote, into the Oval Office. And she's not supposed to be there. Like, do you suppose that there's anyone in the world that thinks that if you're not supposed to be in the Oval Office, you could just walk into it?
But she's a
like
super
if that was
spy,
Jack Bauer,
huh? She's a super spy. She's really good
that's
at what she
even
does.
worse because she's not. But if that was Jack Bauer, like he would have had to shoot 4 or 5 people in the leg, probably shoot himself in the shoulder, shoot up on heroin, hijack a helicopter,
torture some motherfucker,
interrogate a bunch of people.
Oh, I thought it was they were looking for her in a particular building and that she left that building.
Yes, I don't know whether this is in spoiler territory or not. Like, I don't want to go into the details in case someone wants to watch it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, the scenario that they painted was ridiculous.
Okay.
And they lost me immediately when they did that.
Yeah.
Also, the way they painted the events that transpired were different from how they actually happened to increase the drama of the show.
Yeah.
She did something perfectly reasonable that was backed up by logic. And then 5 minutes later in the show, they had completely recategorized what she'd done. And she was in trouble, and it made no sense.
I just can't believe that you're giving out about the realism of this show after giving a somewhat positive review to the Mockingjay.
Yeah, I hear you. But see, the problem is, right, when you try and do quote unquote gritty, international terrorism / espionage, you subject yourself to the criticism and the realism of that milieu. You know, like the Mockingjay doesn't pretend to be real. You know, if it was going to be real, it would have looked more like The Running Man. Either way, and Mike, look at. I've said this to you before, right? That when you don't like something, all of a sudden the plot holes are the only thing you can see, right? I didn't like this. I didn't like it pretty quickly. And that is more than likely why all I could see was plot holes from there on in. Taking a step back and trying to review it a bit more objectively, I think Katherine Heigl was fine. I don't think she did anything really wrong in the way she portrayed her character. I thought she was believable for the most part. I have problems with her because I watched so much of her as Izzy in Greys. It's hard to see her as anything else. But I thought she did okay. I thought the supporting cast was fine. There was no real standouts for me in that. I'm afraid I can't remember the name of the lady actress they cast as the POTUS, but she's my least favorite person on television. But she was perfectly passable as well. It's just, it didn't tie together for me. I didn't like the writing, essentially. I think what I'm complaining about here is the writing.
Can see that. I started watching this and I kept making comparisons to Homeland. Of course. It's the most obvious comparison, and wasn't enjoying it, and I didn't find her convincing. And then about halfway through, I started to enjoy it, and I really enjoyed the second half. And granted, I left the brain at the door. I didn't see the fall down that you're talking about at the start there, about walking into the Oval Office. Whatever the sequence of events it was, I just didn't pick up on that, or it kind of made sense to me, or whatever. So the second half of that I didn't see too many massive plot holes, but there were a couple, as you've mentioned. And I think she was pretty good in it. Eventually, I really liked the politicking and the sort of, what do you call it? Sort of shimmying to get one-upmanship and that kind of stuff. That was kind of cool. And, I think I might watch another one. Yeah. I'm surprised I'm saying that because, going into it, I was just like, Jesus. Another one. Yeah.
Well, I looked at it, and the first thing I look at when I see a show like this is, whether or not the computers work. I know if the computers work, I have to apply a different standard of realism to the story.
Yeah, right.
So okay. I didn't have the realism problem that Mark did, because once they were able to make instant communications across the world in any circumstances, I knew straight away, like, anything can happen in this show, because it's a magic world. And I thought the lead, she did alright for what she was asked to do.
Yeah.
I really liked the supporting guy, his name forgets me. The older guy, the new kid on the block.
Sorry. Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Yeah. I thought he was very good as a counterpoint to her. And I also liked the potential of the new character that was introduced in the last scene.
Yeah.
That story could go somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's, if you're into your 24 and all that kind of thing, you could do worse.
Yeah, certainly.
It's not the kind of thing I'd normally watch, but it's not the worst I've seen of the type.
Yeah, okay. Any more to say on this, Mark?
I don't think so, Steve. I think I've covered it.
Yeah. Do you want to go trailer filler?
Yeah, it's filler for me. I think you could probably tell.
Filler. Mike?
Yeah, it was okay, but probably not okay enough, so I'll give it a filler.
Yeah, I probably watch it at least one more episode, so I'm going to give it a trailer. Yeah, I think it's worth a look. Okay, so that's them. Okay, so next up we'll have some news, some previews, and Come to a Bicycle near you. Mike, Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh my God.
I know, isn't it so exciting?
Describe it, Mike. Describe it. Pitch Perfect 2. Have you seen Pitch Perfect?
No.
Okay. Well, this will be all new to you. Tell us.
There's some girls that sing, and they have to go to a competition, and nobody likes Americans, so they have no chance of winning. And one of the girls seems to have weight issues, which she makes fun of pretty constantly.
Rebel Wilson.
Yeah. But she might get laid. Yeah, she might.
Yeah, they do kind of make fun of that quite a bit, don't they? That seems to be a running joke in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. It was sort of an obvious one. It's not very clever. It's a bit of a go-to.
We're up all night thinking of that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really. Yeah. So this is a Glee X Factory type thing. It's right up your street, man. It's right up Mark Street. Yeah. And the thing that I sort of laughed about, there's a scene in it where they seem to go into this place where it's sort of like an underground competition with teams from all over the world, where they have what's the word? Acapello? An acapello off. So, they've all sorts of genres and so on. But it's a bit like that movie that came out in the 70s, late 70s, I think it was called The Warriors, where there's all these different gangs in New York. There's like the Baldies and there's, this one? It's like there's the Greasers and all this kind of thing. They all have this stereotype, and they all have a big face off. So, so it's like, Glee, come out and play, yay. So anyway, the only redeeming factor of this trailer really was that Flula was in it. He's a YouTube favorite of mine. He's a German guy who moved to LA and then realized that pretending to be German and being silly about English idiosyncrasies in the language would make a great YouTube channel, and so he started doing that and has had over 40 million hits on his stuff. Yeah, he's huge and he's hilarious. He's like, for example, he talks about, the bee's knees. What is this? Like, bees don't have knees, and then he goes on to examine, this whole thing. Or, balls to the wall. Why would you put your balls to the wall? This kind of, it's very, very funny. So, he's also DJ and so on, but he's in it at one part and he's playing a German guy, and when I saw him, I died laughing. I'd nearly watch it just to see what he gets up to, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But, the rest of it doesn't appeal to me. It's quite Lee, and it's quite dance-off movie things, and it's got a bit of, I don't know, Bridesmaids or something thrown in there. That seems to be sort of a bit of a mix there, so, yeah.
I'll tell you, fucking Jack Bauer wouldn't make me watch this movie.
I want to hear what Mark has to say about this. And now, I was going to say in defense, but it's not defense, it's just his opinion on it.
Well, I have to say, I agree with both of you guys. I can't wait to see this. So I have, Pitch Perfect 1 is part of my DVD collection.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I pull it out every so often because, well, one of my favorite things to do is to sing multiple part harmonies a cappella.
Okay.
I would do that all day, every day.
Yes, I can see that, but you can get them songs individually. You don't need a movie behind them.
Oh yeah, I don't watch the movie again and again. I skip to the songs.
Okay.
What? DVDs can do that now.
Yeah. So why would you go and watch this? No, I'm just trying to understand.
What kind of superhero are you?
As an example of the kind of superhero I am.
He actually thinks he's a Jedi because the automatic door is open for him.
I recently remembered about the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer called Once More is Feeling, season 6, episode 7. And then I remembered that such things are available for download on a variety of reputable download sites. So I pulled it down and I've watched it about 7 or 8 times now already in the past 2 weeks. Then I remembered that back in the whatever part of the early 90s or late 90s, early 90s when that came out, I bought that CD off Amazon. And then I said, now where would I find that this many years later? And I went into this really old iPod. The iPod is almost an archaeological find. And then I had a look down through it looking for Cast, right? I went looking for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Nothing. And then I said, what about Cast of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I found it. So I had the whole album on my iPod. So now I don't even have to stop listening to it or stop watching it when I go in the car.
Oh.
So that's what you're up against, Steve. So I'm the wrong guy to be reviewing this trailer because I think it looks class. The Germans that you talked about were hilarious. They were only on the scene for about 10 seconds and I thought they are brilliant. I thought the a cappella battles look like a lot of fun. I can't wait. Rebel Wilson with her inappropriate one-liners was funny. No, we might have seen her funniest lines in the trailer, but even so, I think it's worth having her in there for them.
Yeah.
I didn't really pick up on the whole stereotype of fat chicks being easy, but it is all over the trailer, so it probably is in the film as well. Who cares? It's just her character. Anyway, I can't wait. There's going to be some epic a cappella songs that I can't wait to sing along to.
Wow. Please don't put this in the list.
Yeah.
I'm begging you. Okay, the next one we looked at was Jurassic World.
Who put this in the list?
I did, I'm afraid.
Good man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
So I always liked the Jurassic Park ones, except for the bits with it is a Linux system. The children.
Looks like this one's lining up for it.
It is a bit, isn't it? Yeah. So
kids all over this one.
I just love the visualization of, dinosaurs being around in this time, and I did like some of the scenes from the trailer, the one with was it Megalodon? What's it called? The big...
No, Megalodon was the shark.
Yeah, what's the big shark thing that jumped up to bite a shark? Did you see this?
Yeah, that was Megalodon.
Yeah. So, that scene looked pretty cool, and I'm gonna go see this more for the visuals than the story, where we know from the trailer that they get out and they have to hunt them, and there's one escapes and he's bigger and badder and eviler than all the rest of the dinosaurs. He's a hybrid, even one we've never seen before, it seems. So so it's going to be the same story, but I think it looks like fun.
I just kind of enjoyed the fact that they've really, really pissed off all the paleontologists in the world. They're all over this shit on
Are
the
they
internet.
really? Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the forked tongue, man? Where's the feathers?
Oh, really? Are you on paleontology forums or something?
Shut up, Steve.
I knew it.
They're not a group that you want to piss off, really, those paleontologists.
So, it'll be a bit of fun.
Yeah. What do you think of this, Mark?
Well, I can't wait to watch it. I love the Jurassic Park films. And for a lot of the reasons that you said, Steve, I do really like seeing dinosaurs running about the place. So a few nice touches in this one. It sounds like there's elements of Alien in it. Or at least they seem to indicate that that's what they're going for with this one. It's not quite the same. Like there's a specific dinosaur we have to worry about, not just all dinosaurs breaking out. It's this one bad one.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene towards the end of the trailer where the guy is in a car or on a bike, I forget, but he's going at speed and I think he's passed out by a bunch of raptors who are themselves running from something else.
I was wondering, are they with him on the hunt? That's the other thing. I was wondering, are they like domesticized and trained? I don't know. We only.
I thought they were trying to get away from something.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Could well be.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that they're really nice until somebody feeds them after midnight.
So the last one we watched was Pan, which is based on a story of child abuse, kidnapping, and violence. And it stars Hugh Jackman and Amanda Seyfried. Mark's shaking his head. He doesn't believe me.
Oh, I didn't see this one.
Oh, yeah. So it's...
I think this was a late addition to the list.
Yeah, this the Peter Pan story, but the way it's... Well, it's kind of. It's got Captain Hook in it, and it's got Hugh Jackman plays. And it seems like it's Oliver Twist is pulled from the Nuns or whatever the very drab and poor-looking orphanage is, and he's pulled off to Neverland, and I don't know what he's made do. It's sort of, I don't know if he's meant to fight to the death or what he's. there seems to be a lot of punching going on in it anyway. So yeah. Anyone excited about this? No. You know, I'm wondering who this is focused at, because of, you know, the underlying story is like, it's not obviously not young kids. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's Pirates of the Caribbean with a bit more violence, or something like that, because that's what it looks like. I sound like I don't know, an outlet talking about this, but just when you watch the trailer, maybe it's a badly constructed trailer. Maybe there's a lot more Peter Pan like story to it, but it didn't really seem like it to me.
Really?
Anyway, yeah. Actually, I think we'll put this on the skip list. But anyway, well, I'll wait for trailer 2. Anyway, might be a better view of it. But anyway, that's it for this week. Mark, had you something to say about the bikies?
I was just going to suggest that if you have a category for this year's the end of year Is It a Bicycle Awards, then drop us a line at podcast@isitabicycle.com. So we've had some epic categories in recent years, like best use of a catsuit. And if you think you've got a category that's worth us putting our heads together on, then drop us an email.
We'll put a post on our website and on Facebook, and you can add your suggestion there either, just to make it easy. Okay, so that's it for this week from Mike, Mark, Steve, and Sean. Stay classy.